Good evening, everyone. I'm Ryan Burris, your Chief Communications Officer, and I am going to quickly introduce Clark Hampton, our Deputy Superintendent tonight.
Good evening, CUSD families and students. Again, I'm Clark Hampton, as Ryan mentioned, Deputy Superintendent, and I want to welcome you all to our Keeping Kids Safe Online webinar with the Orange County Sheriff's Department. We are spending more time than ever on computers, and it's important for all of us, especially parents, to understand the dangers of the internet, including how predators behave. I am certain some of this information we already know, but whenever we hear from the Sheriff's Department, they teach us the latest trends and concerns based on actual cases and investigations. I want to thank Deputy Anthony Sambrano, who will be leading our webinar tonight. I also want to thank Sheriff Don Barnes and his leadership team for their incredible work keeping our students and staff safe every day. Our district encompasses 7 cities and unincorporated areas over 200 square miles. The sheriff and his department are wonderful partners and collaborators, and we are extremely grateful for their support. I hope you all enjoy this presentation, and now I'll turn it over to Deputy Sambrano. Everyone have a great night. Take it away.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, you guys, for allowing me to be here. My name is Anthony Sambrano. I'm a Deputy Sheriff with the Orange County Sheriff's Department. And tonight we're going to be talking about teens and technology. Before we get into the presentation though, first, I just want to tell you a little bit about myself and kind of how we've gotten here and how we've created this presentation for our young students as well as for our parents. I've been with the Sheriff's Department for about 9 years, of course, going through the ranks, going and starting within our jails, and eventually moving on to patrol. I patrolled in South County in the city of Laguna Hills, and I was eventually very fortunate enough to become the school resource officer for the city of Laguna Hills. And it's there where I really developed most of my, developed a lot of research and information when it comes to technology and how it affects not just parents, but especially our youth. So from being a school resource officer, I was able to then be a part of our school mobile assessment and resource team, otherwise known as our SMART team, which encompasses school threats. So any type of school threats that a school receives, we go ahead and investigate it. And believe it or not, in most cases, especially in today's world, when we're talking about hybrid learning, a lot of our threats have come through the cyber world. So that's a little bit about me before we get into this presentation. A lot of what I'm going to be talking about is from real life scenarios that we've investigated, that we've dealt with within our community, with our kids. So of course, this presentation is geared more towards elementary school children, but based on our trends, we are seeing a lot of what we used to see as far as the high school level, middle school level, now at our elementary school level. So without further ado, let me go ahead and share my screen with you guys. And Ryan, just let me know, as long as everything gets going, that you guys can see it. And there we go. Can you see that, Ryan?
I can't see it.
Let me see. Share screen.
And you'll have to select the screen and then choose OK. There you go.
There it goes.
Perfect. And you can, there it is. You got it.
All right. All right. So first off, let's talk about technology and how we've gone and advanced through the ages. So for my parents that are listening right now, and for the students and kids that are going through this, how many of you guys have even used one of these in your lifetime, right? This is more my speed, probably your parents' speed, as far as what we used to watch videos on. We weren't streaming back in the day. We were using these. And the list kind of goes on. How many of you guys even used one of these or can even find these in your cars, right? This kind of just shows how we've come a long way with our technology. Back in the day, if we were going to listen to music and have a cell phone, we were usually using 2 of these, right? We never really had an iPhone, and this is probably about 15 years ago, right? We never had an iPhone that allowed us to play music and listen or have our cell phone at the same time as well. How many of you guys remember this, right? When we were going online, we were usually waiting for that dial tone. And if someone was on the other line, we weren't being able to use it because everything was all dialed to, right? And of course, when we were trying to download stuff, this is usually what would come up. So now we can literally download something at the hands of our fingertips, but back in the day, we weren't able to do that. So what's the point of all that? My point is we live in a very, very fortunate society where technology is with us from the very beginning. We trust technology because we grew up with it, simply. At a very young age now, our children are using technology, whether it be from our laptops, whether it be from an iPad, whatever it might be, we're using this technology that's given to us. And for the most part, it is helping us, right? Technology is a great thing. We use it not only just in our personal life at home, but we are using it daily at school, at work, and it's helping us continue up the ladder in society, right? This is probably a very common thing that you would see pre-COVID as far as kids working together using iPads or laptops. But of course, when you were dealing with such technology, there needs to be a set of rules. There needs to be some form of monitoring it to make sure that we're using it the right way. This student right here, we're not sure what she's doing. She might be reviewing over a text. She might be watching a video. She might be researching something for all we know. But like we know, in most cases, in some cases, some teachers do not want us using cell phones or other digital devices within the classroom. And this right here, this picture just illustrates probably what we're all seeing nowadays. We are Zooming, we are using Google Classrooms to go ahead and go through our classes right now, okay? So I know by the end of this presentation, most of you are gonna say, oh my gosh, technology is taking over, we need to stop for a minute. But in all honesty, technology is helping us. It's giving us infinite opportunities. It's giving us the creativity to express ourselves in many different ways. It's allowing us to share information with other people, okay, that can lead to popularity, that can lead to money, that can lead to so many different things. Learning. Technology is a good thing, but it must be used and done properly. And hopefully by the end of this presentation, you guys will understand that, because there's many, many dangers that come with having a cell phone, that having social media, even going on your own video game and chatting with other people. We're going to talk about all those types of things within this, but it's important that you do know that it is good for you, but to a certain extent. So on the agenda today, we're going to talk about a digital footprint. Okay, what a digital footprint is for us and how we can maintain a great digital footprint that allows us to live our life to the best of it, right? We're going to talk about cell phones. We're going to talk about all the dangers that come with a cell phone, all the dangers and everything that comes with social media, because social media is a totally different animal when we're talking about everything that can happen or that can arise when having problems with social media. We're going to talk about all the common problems that kids face, not just from an elementary school level, if you're very fortunate enough as an elementary school student to have these types of things, but also going from middle school, high school, and even an adult. We'll talk about some of the consequences, right? The problem consequences that happen when we misuse our social media or our cell phones. And lastly, I want to bring up a very, very special application that your schools have, and it's called the Say Something Anonymous Reporting System. But we'll get into that a little bit later. So let's go ahead and get into it. Digital footprint, right? What is a digital footprint? Okay. Just like you can read right at the very bottom of it, the information about a particular person that exists on the internet as a result of their online activity. Deputy, that's a kind of a long term. What exactly does that mean in an elementary school definition, right? Essentially, what it means is anything that you use your computer on, anything that you use your cell phone, your video game, whatever form of digital device that you use, that's your digital footprint. The websites that you visit, the pictures that you upload, the videos that you download, the comments that you post on social media, the type of language that you use, right? Your favorite applications, messages, anything related to technology and what you view, what you upload, what you download is your digital footprint, okay? It's good to know that that will follow you for the rest of your life, okay? It'll start from now, it'll go forever, no matter where you are, okay? Of course, I'm sure you guys have heard that it can definitely impact your education. We'll talk about that a little bit later as far as how it can impact maybe your college career, how it can definitely impact your career of choice, whether or not, you know, whatever career you want to get into, it can definitely impact. Definitely at a elementary and middle school and high school level, it definitely impacts your personal and online life. And that's truly where we really see a lot of issues as far as what kids make mistakes on. They usually make mistakes when it comes to that digital footprint by what they upload, the pictures they take of themselves, the language that they're using usually gets them in trouble. I will tell you this, privacy settings help, but they are definitely not bulletproof. They are definitely not something that you have to just say, oh, I've got privacy settings, I only let my friends view it. Unfortunately, your friends sometimes are the worst perpetrators as far as sharing your information. So just because you think you have it on a privacy setting where only friends can view it, unfortunately, in most cases, your friends are showing it to, excuse me, your friends are showing that same information to their friends who show it to another group of friends, and the list continues to go on and on and on. Also, personal information. Sometimes we put a little bit too much more information than we should. We need to make sure that we don't post too much information when it comes to our personal life, our home addresses, everything that we're into sometimes can have problems, okay? This video, I think, really talks, does a great, gives us great ideas about what a digital footprint truly is. Check it out, you guys. And let's see if it's gonna play. All right, this video is not working, but no worries. We'll discuss it in different ways. Like I was saying, the impacts of a digital footprint. I know most cases, adults like myself and your parents are probably gonna say, oh, it's gonna impact your college career. You're not gonna get into the college that you want or the particular school that you wanna get into when it comes to a bad digital footprint. That is very true. That is very, very true. And if you don't think colleges are looking at your social media accounts and what you've posted and what you've commented on, you've got something else coming, because they definitely will look. Our careers, right? Guess what? When I got hired with the Sheriff's Department, one of the first things when I met my background investigator was they said, Anthony, first things first, I'd like for you to show me, and this is, now you're gonna know how old I am. I want you to show me your MySpace account, right? Yes, I did have a MySpace account at one time. But that was the first thing they wanted to see. They wanted to know what type of person I was on a personal level, what my interests were, to see who they actually were hiring. So of course, it definitely is going to impact your career, especially depending on what your career choice is, especially if it's a public service, like being a police officer, a fireman, a nurse, a doctor. A lot of those public service jobs are going to require, they're going to require you to show your social media accounts. Of course, our friends. It definitely impacts our friends and who we are around. When we start posting the wrong things, our friends may not want to hang out with us. They may say, who is this person? I don't even know who you are. Why would you post something like that? It can definitely impact our friendships on a long-term basis. And of course, it definitely impacts our family, right? We want to make our family proud. We want to do everything we can to make sure that our family is proud of us and they know what we're doing. But when we start posting the wrong types of things, when we start following the wrong type of people, okay, that can have a negative reaction to what our family thinks about what we're into, right? Now, on a short-term level, impacts of a bad digital footprint this is more closely associated with kids and teenagers, right? Because we're thinking right now, we're thinking what's in it, what's going on right now. When we post too personal information that probably shouldn't be shared amongst a large group of people within social media, it can have negative and bad reactions with other people. In some cases, too personal information or stuff that we shouldn't post can lead to some form of cyberbullying, right? We can have some form of cyberbullying that then affects us and our mental health, and no one wants to be cyberbullied, right? No one wants to have a bunch of people making fun of them for what they posted. In a lot of cases, it can lead to fights. It can lead to arguments. And this is something that we get called on a lot, where you post something and the other person starts making fun of you. You start making fun of the other person. The next thing you know, you guys are arguing, and then someone above you guys needs to get involved, whether it's a parent, someone from the school, or in some cases, maybe your school resource officer or another form of law enforcement. I bring this page up because this is just a random profile on Instagram. And sometimes our profiles show everything about us, right? They know from a random person that doesn't know anything about us can go on our profiles and they can see what our favorite foods are, how many family members we have, sometimes potentially where we live, the types of sports teams that we like, our most common interests, the bands we like, whatever it might be. Your profile pretty much says everything about you. And with that information, a random person can come up and say, oh, you know what? This person likes that band. They like that type of food. They go to this high school. They go to this middle school. They go to this elementary school. You know what? I can create someone that's totally going to get along with them and make this person up just by viewing your profile. And that's when we start talking about some scary things, when people know too much information about us. So be very careful with the pictures that you put up and what you put up about your specific profile. A lot of these applications have maps where they show exactly where you are. They pin exactly where you are on a Saturday night, on a Friday night. Once again, we're sharing a little bit too much information about ourselves to the point where someone knows where our hangout spots are, or if they want to meet us or spy on us, they know exactly where to find us. Scary, scary stuff when we start getting into this type of, this form of social media and what people can do. And lastly, all these people on social media that we don't know who they are, whether we met them on social media or we met them on a video game and they said, hey, look me up, my username for Instagram or Snapchat or whatever it is, or you met them on a bad website, you never know truly who they are. You never know if they're your age, if they're the gender they say they are, if what their true intentions are, right? You never truly know. And that's something that you really need to be careful about. Truly, truly need to be careful about, because you never know what that person wants from you, right? It's not very normal to have a 40-year-old talking with a 10-year-old, right? There's not many commonalities that's going to be there. I mean, for goodness sake, even a 25-year-old, why would a 25-year-old be wanting to talk to a 10 or 13-year-old or something like that? So be very cautious about who you are talking to, wherever you do meet them, whether it's on a video game console, a blog. Be very, very cautious. And our recommendations are you don't even follow them. You don't even be friends with them. So a few more tips when it comes to oversharing. I'm sure you've heard the term TMI, too much information. This picture is of a kid getting what looks like an ear infection treated. Sometimes we don't need to see that kind of stuff, right? We don't need to see information that might just be a little bit too personal, right? So be very, very leery when oversharing too much information. Relationships. Some people want to just post pictures, post comments, all about how much they like their boyfriend or girlfriend. Well, guess what? Sometimes that can be a little bit too much. So we recommend that you stay away from posting all kinds of pictures about relationships. Also, no one likes a bragger. No one likes anyone that's always flaunting about how they look, about what kind of car they drive, about how big their house is, or whatever it is that they're bragging about. You want to stay away from bragging, okay? The other thing too is your followers, okay? Depending on how you choose your followers, okay? If you're going to post something that's going to upset your followers, be ready to expect that, okay? Or be mindful of, you know what, I probably shouldn't post this because I could possibly deal with some form of cyberbullying. I could deal with some form of anxiety if I do post something like this. So be leery, okay? If you think you're going to upset your followers depending on what you post, be very, very careful. Pictures. Pictures tend to be the worst thing when it comes to sharing, okay? As we've talked about everything else. Pictures, especially pictures that are inappropriate or they show certain body parts, don't do it. Stay away from that. Do not post inappropriate pictures of your body parts on social media, on texting, in any form. Do not do that because that is just another problem in itself. We'll talk about that a little bit later as far as what it can lead to, but stay away from those types of pictures. The other thing that I want you guys to know, and what we see a lot, is we see a lot of pictures being altered. Take, for example, this picture. On the left-hand side, it's a person taking a cool selfie, probably at some real nice fountain. But how easy was it for him to alter that picture to make it seem like him and his girlfriend are flying? Of course, there's probably nothing wrong with this picture in itself, but I bring this picture up just to show you how easy it is to go ahead and alter a picture. And guess what? Teenagers, for some reason, tend to be the best at cropping these types of pictures and making them funny or making them obscene or making them inappropriate. So be very, very leery with your pictures because they can be altered. We spoke a little bit about privacy settings already. As far as it's our recommendation, you don't allow other people who you're not friends with to view your profile. You want to make sure your profile and your pictures and everything about your social media accounts are very tight knit to the point where it is just you and your very close friends that can view your settings. And lastly, the golden rule, be nice. Be nice. Social media takes on a whole different meaning when we're mean, when we're rude to people, when we say inappropriate things. The best thing that you can do is be nice. And realistically, that's what social media is all about. It's about making ourselves feel good by being nice to one another. Okay? Let's transition now into cell phones, okay? I saw one question a little bit earlier as far as what's the best age for cell phones for kids? I'll tell you this, from my experience, it's really up to the parents, right? If you as a parent think that your child is mature enough for a cell phone, then you're more than likely willing to give them the phone. Give them the phone, but handle it with the right type of monitoring, okay? Checking that phone daily, more than daily, and ensuring that your child is mature enough for a phone, especially a smartphone. Because these phones have limitless power. What other device in this world, okay, other than a computer or anything else like that, has the ability to communicate on several different platforms, right? You can talk to people on the phone, you can text, you can go on an app and communicate with them. You can research anything in this world at the hands of, just your phone. The button, the creativity that you can do when it comes to a cell phone, there's limitless power as far as what you can create, what you can do when it comes to a cell phone. Don't forget about the money, right? We're at the point now where your cell phone is your wallet. You can literally walk into a store, buy groceries, and tap your cell phone on a cell phone reader to pay for your groceries, right? The location, there's maps, ping locations, just like we talked about earlier. There's an application that can figure out your location and show others. That's all based on your phone, okay? Your phone has limitless power that can affect your world, your daily life dramatically at the hands of just a few buttons, okay? Ownership, kids, I hate to tell you this, but your parents own your phone. They own your phone all the way until you turn 18. And that's only if you're paying for your phone. And sometimes I have kids say, well, I'm 16 years old, I have a job, I work, I pay for my own bill. Well, that's great, but guess what? That phone still belongs to your parents. Your parents are still in charge of that phone, and it's one of their responsibilities to ensure that you're using that phone the way it's supposed to happen. So anytime they want to take it from you or monitor it or look through it, it's theirs. They can take it away from you at any time they want. There's a lot of legalities that come with a phone. There's a lot of laws, believe it or not, that are broken at the hands of a phone. We'll get into that a little bit later. The contents of a phone, the photos, videos, messages, applications, the websites that you go on it, that's part of your digital footprint. And believe it or not, just because you go on your phone settings and delete all, right? Sometimes people do that. They go ahead and delete everything so that no one can view things like your parents or the sheriff's department or the school. Guess what? That information is still saved on your phone. I've written a few search warrants specifically for that type of stuff. And guess what? After a kid has deleted it, it's still there, believe it or not. That's all part of your digital footprint. So let's talk about social media, because social media is a whole different giant as far as the impacts that it can have. And believe me, there's plenty of good things about social media, but when it comes to kids' sake, there's a lot of bad things that we need to be very, very careful of. The first warning I want to give you guys, cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is so rampant when it comes to kids that have social media. And guess what? It's literally from people that are not following that golden rule of just be nice, or even if you know someone that is getting cyberbullied, maybe reaching out to them and asking them if they're okay, maybe even reporting it to the school and saying, hey, you know what, this kid, he was going through some tough times. She had a tough time on social media last night after she posted something she shouldn't have or he should have. You may want to get in touch with that person. Cyberbullying is something that is there when it comes to social media. So there's plenty of things that we can do. Addiction. Cell phone addiction is a real thing. It's to the point where it can definitely impact our next few things, whether it's our sleep, whether it's our schoolwork. We get so involved in our phone, whether we're waiting for a text, we just posted something on our profile or on our story, and we want to see what people's reactions are, and we can't wait. We're always looking at that phone. We're always pulling it out, seeing what's going on. Be very, very careful when it comes to a cell phone addiction. And you may ask me, well, Deputy, what's the best way to make sure that we don't get cell phone addiction? It's simply finding other things to do, to be busy, to be motivated, to have fun, other than your cell phone. Don't let social media and your cell phone be your only form of enjoyment in your life. Go outside, have a conversation with people, play sports, do other things that can keep your mind busy and make you happy other than just that cell phone. Because with cell phone addiction, I guarantee the next thing that's going to happen is you're going to start losing sleep. Believe it or not, there's kids that have their cell phone in their bedroom and they look at one icon on social media. The next thing you know, it's been 5 hours and they are still going through their cell phone, and they have to wake up to school. They have to wake up for school the next morning. And of course, they're sleepy because they've been on their phone all day. So addiction, cell phone addiction definitely impacts our sleep. Of course, it's going to impact our digital footprint, okay, and what type of person we truly are when it comes to that digital footprint. So make sure you have a good lasting digital footprint. And of course, internet dating. Internet dating has a few different ways, I like to say. There's the internet dating when it comes to actually knowing someone physically that you're boyfriend and girlfriend with, and having communication over social media or over the phone through text. But there's also a form of internet dating that goes with meeting someone online and not knowing them physically. And that's what we need to watch out for. That's what we need to stay away from. Okay? Because at the end of the day, I know this is very cartoonish, right? This is very, very cartoonish, but this is very real. Okay? This is a term called catfishing or impersonating others. There's people out there, like I said, that will view your profile and make a custom profile that's built just to be best friends with you by having the same interests in your personal life, whether it's sports, music, how you feel about your parents. They're going to do everything that they can to build a relationship with you to potentially harm you. Okay? This is a scary picture. It's a very, very scary picture, but in all honesty, it is the truth. There are people out there like this that specifically just want to meet someone like you and try and get information from you. They may want to meet you physically at a location. They may want pictures from you. And when you get into that level, it's a scary, scary thing. I'm speaking to you as someone that's taken these reports from students that it's been too late. It's been too late to the point where they may have already shared a picture of themselves. They may have already sent something that's very embarrassing. And now that person is using it on them to the point of, I want more. I want more pictures of you. And if you do not send me more pictures, I'm going to send the pictures that you've already sent me out. I'm going to send them to your parents. I'm going to send them to your school. I'm going to send them to your friends. And that's scary. That's a very, very scary thing. And we can prevent that from making sure that we are not friends with people that we do not know. And when people that want to, meet us online, we play it safe and say, no, thank you. Okay. Very scary stuff, but you guys, it is true. This does happen very, very often. Believe it or not, it happens a lot through a third application a lot of times. Believe it or not, we've had this case happen with Xbox, PlayStation, Discord, and other applications that you wouldn't think you would meet someone on social media, from something like that, but it does happen. So be very, very leery, even on your video game consoles and other forms of technology. So going with that, like I said, it usually involves sending some type of pictures to these people, okay? They're gonna then want you to send these types of things. And guess what? These pictures can never be deleted. And in most cases, they're distributed to other people, okay? And this is something that we can never take back. We can never take back, and it can haunt us for a long, long time. And in some cases, it will definitely lead to cyberbullying. Okay, so I know we talked about some pretty crazy stuff right there, but let's transition now into cyberbullying. Okay, because like I said, this is just something that happens, unfortunately, within social media. Most times, cyberbullying is done through Snapchat, Instagram, and other forms of group style messages. And believe it or not, it's usually between two people, but the other people involved in this usually create most of the drama. Okay, they may go ahead and rile the two people up to the point where it creates more and more hostility. They get more and more upset at each other. And these other people that are just witnesses or ongoers or friends, they like it because, hey, this is just drama for me to watch unfold with comments and videos and pictures. Um, in which case, sometimes when the victim feels that they're getting yelled at or cyberbullied, they then feel that, okay, well, I'm going to respond with my own threats. I'm going to respond back with my own form of cyberbullying. And this is when it then carries on over to the school. And then we have even more problems at school. Okay. Sometimes this can lead to a fight, whether it's during school or after school. In most cases, it usually just turns into cyberbullying and cyber arguments over the course of whatever it is that they started out arguing over. And like I said, spectators tend to be the worst as far as keeping this going. Spectators sometimes will go to the other person and say, hey, did you hear what he said about you? Did you hear what she said about you on this? And it just continues to fan the flame until something like a fight after school or during school happens, okay? Or a threat that is very scary gets reported, okay? In most cases, in all cases, this needs to be reported to the school, okay, or the school resource officer. Because once the school knows, once the school resource officer knows, that's when we can bring everything back. We can investigate it to the point of when did this start and how did this start? And in most cases, we can resolve the issue between the two parties. However, it always tends to be the friends and other spectators tend to make these things a lot worse. But we can start that intervention before there's actual real problems to the point of people getting in trouble with school. Everyone seems to always think, I'm going to get in trouble, I'm going to get in trouble. Actually, a lot of times it's a learning lesson. It's a learning lesson, and that's the way we want to treat it. Of course, when we've got a kid that or a student that just continues to get in trouble, then that might be a little bit different. But if this is the first time incident, hey, it's a learning lesson. Let's not do it again. Let's learn from this and continue on. We talked a lot about common consequences, right? In most cases, I think it's fair to say we all get parent consequences when we use social media or our cell phones the wrong way. And we should, right? When we misuse our devices and what is trusted to us, there should be some type of consequence. Of course, sometimes what we do and what we say can carry on into school. And if we threaten someone and it impacts the safety of a school or other people, there can be school consequences. And believe it or not, we try and keep all these consequences at these two levels. Very rarely we get to the situation where the sheriff's department, myself being a former school resource officer, or what I do now when it comes to school threats, then that's sometimes when we get involved, okay? So these are some of the laws that are that I've put down that kids have violated. Criminal threats, when we tell someone we're gonna hurt them or we're gonna kill them, depending on how the other person feels about that threat, it could be construed as a criminal threat. Annoying someone online, always commenting on them or sending them direct messages can be labeled as annoying or harassing phone calls. Don't let the phone term confuse you, because it definitely can mean social media within that too. There's a specific penal code for digital bullying. Digital bullying is under that penal code where you are just bullying someone through social media to the point where the other person can get in trouble. Depending how a child takes, the online bullying, if they're severely abused mentally, it can be construed as child abuse. And this one, like we were talking about inappropriate pictures, is specifically for inappropriate pictures. When you're sending inappropriate pictures to other people and you start getting blackmailed, that is a crime. You want to stay away from those ones, okay? And lastly, I put this on here for filing false emergencies. I spoke a little bit about the Say Something application. That application is used for actual emergencies. If you try and put a fake emergency or you're trying to be funny, sometimes that can lead to a false emergency, because we take every threat, we take every check that or concern that you have about someone, we take it very, very serious, and we follow through to make sure that there's that person's taken care of, or there is no threat to the schools. So, in conclusion, we've spoken about a lot of information today. A lot of information, and these are some of the main takeaways I want you guys to understand. One, technology isn't going anywhere. It is here. It's going to continue to advance, and we must advance with it, okay? We need to know its benefits and its disadvantages, okay? We need to be leery of that cell phone addiction, right? We need to have other forms of happiness and ways to stay busy. If we are allowed to have social media or a cell phone, we need to make sure that we're not oversharing too much information that can lead us into some of those problem areas like cyberbullying, okay, like sharing inappropriate pictures, okay? We need to be aware of that. Always think before you post, okay? I know that can be very, very difficult, but you want to think before you actually post something and make sure it's not something that's going to get you in trouble or upset someone or lead you towards a wrong path. And the best way you can do that is maintaining a good digital footprint, because, like I said, that digital footprint really defines who we are as people. Be good leaders. Report cyberbullying. If you know someone that is getting cyberbullied, you can report it. And of course, lead by example. If you're someone that a lot of kids look up to, or you want to be someone that kids look up to, lead by example and follow a lot of the things that I've spoken about tonight. Lastly, this Say Something anonymous reporting system is specifically for you guys. This is something that Capistrano Unified School District uses, and it's a great, great system. Whether if you're fortunate enough to have a cell phone, you can go on your cell phone, download the application. You can go online and go to Say Something, their website, or you can go and physically call them by the number provided, and you can report things or concerns or say whatever the concerning issue is. You can go ahead and report to the school. And guess what? This thing is monitored 24/7. It's monitored by a company that if they feel that it's something that, hey, this is something we need to get the ball rolling at, doesn't matter if it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 2 o'clock in the morning, they're going to get in touch with your school, and in some cases get in touch with the sheriff's department. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten woken up at 2 in the morning by my boss, who's told me, hey, Anthony, we need to go look at this. We need to investigate this. And you know what? It's my job, and that's what I'm there to do. So that is something that I definitely recommend. Now, before we conclude tonight, I want you to look at these, okay? And if you want, go ahead and repeat them with me. These are some great tips to keep you safe when using social media, cell phones, or any other digital footprint. I will not give my name, address, telephone number, school name, or the names of my family members to anyone I meet online. I will never meet in person anyone I meet online unless my parent or guardian says it's okay. If I receive an inappropriate picture from someone, I will not respond and immediately show my parent or guardian. If I received a gift from someone I met online, I will immediately tell my parent or guardian. Those are some great phrases to live by, you guys. I thank you very, very much for being present here today. I wish I could be there physically. That's more what I'm used to as far as being there in front of you. But these are different times right now. But the fact that I can do this this way is something great as well too. And I thank you guys at Capistrano Unified School District for allowing me to do this. Are there any questions now that anyone has?
Deputy, there are a couple questions. One parent said, or is asking, what precautions can we take for elementary children regarding video games and internet usage?
Okay, so I get this question a lot, and a lot of times parents ask me, is there a certain application that I can download to track my child? And the best thing I can tell you is strictly monitoring. Be involved with it. If your child likes to play video games, guess what? Get your hands dirty and play with them. See the people so that you're comfortable scrolling and using that controller to go to their chat room or going to their chats within the video game to see who they're chatting with, what they're chatting about. When it comes to the cell phone, like I said earlier, you have total control over that device. And when it comes to that, going through each application, go through it. Before, when I first started doing these presentations, there were a lot of applications that came out in terms of tracking what our kids go on to. And to be honest, a lot of our newer phones that are out now already have that software already included, where you don't have to pay $50 a month to be watching over your child. It's to the point where if you go on your Apple right now or your Apple iPhone, you can literally go to to your settings as far as screen time, and you can limit the amount of screen time that your child's on their cell phone for social media. You can limit what they use or what they do on social media. Anyways, to make a long story short, the best thing you can do is get your hands dirty, and by going on to these video games, being comfortable on how to use it, as well as getting your hands dirty with these cell phones. And if you're one of those people that says, you know what, I don't want to learn about Snapchat, but I'm going to allow my child to do it, you're pretty much just acting like an ostrich and putting your head in the sand. So you want to go ahead and get dirty with it and be comfortable using those devices, because the best way to know what your child is doing is going through it, without even being on a schedule or anything like that.
Yeah, Deputy, thank you. I know we've had similar questions when we do the social emotional meetings with our Hogue partners, and Dr. Safaya has even said in the past to parents, don't have computers in bedrooms and don't allow cell phones in bedrooms at night. So those are two things that he says, not only to keep kids safe, but also just to help them socially and emotionally, and have boundaries around the appropriate use of cell phones.
Absolutely. And the earlier you start that, the easier it is. If you're one of those parents that's kind of debating, well, I don't know if I should give them a phone now. If you're going to give your child a phone, depending on what age they are, give it to them with restrictions, with rules. And like Ryan just said, that rule as far as keeping the phone with you at night and not letting them keep it in their bedroom is one of the best rules you can implement, because it takes away that possible cell phone addiction, and it also allows the child to get the proper sleep that they need. So, great.
That goes right into the next question. How can using your cell phone prevent you from sleeping?
How can using your cell phone prevent you from sleeping?
Yeah. Okay.
Well, and that's really just the amount of time that kids are on it and what they're using it for. If we start talking about the brain here, and it's funny that you bring this up. This is something that I usually talk about with the teens. Our brain has a chemical within it called oxytocin. right? And what that oxytocin is the part of the brain that says what we like, what we don't like. And there's been a lot of studies when it comes to cell phones, social media, that shows what our brain is feeling when we are on social media. And there's studies that show that um, getting, I'm just going to say, getting high on life, getting high on social media is very similar to drugs. Our brain just feels those feel good receptors of going on social media, posting a picture and seeing people like it or following us. It makes us feel good. So, and um, in short, that then causes us to want to stay online, to lose track of time. There's a lot of studies that have been done. One of the most recent ones is also done by Stanford University. I believe it was done in 2017. And what that study really talked about was the amount of times kids should be spending on their cell phones for recreational use, social media, um, YouTube. What those studies said was that students should not be spending more than 3 hours a day recreationally on their cell phones. Okay, so, and I'm sorry, that's not just cell phones, but that's also video games and any form of those types of activities. So there's a lot, it's not just, I think, common sense as far as knowing that, um, you know, that cell phones can impact our sleep as well as an addiction. But there's a lot of research that's being done specifically about how cell phones and computers and the internet can definitely impact our kids from a science perspective, as far as how it's impacting not just our kids sleeping, but concentrating. There's been a lot of links within that Stanford study that showed addiction also causing ADHD, schizophrenia. Those are all things that no one wants to be a part of when it comes to just getting it from their phone. But that's something you need to be leery of.
Okay, and then if you do have more questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. We'll take a few more. I know as far as addiction goes, your body gets used to the feel-good hormones, and then you need more of the thing that gives you that feeling in order to get the same response. So when you mentioned addiction, that's exactly what happens in the body. I would also say to parents just to look up the blue light. Just Google blue light, and that's something that you get from cell phones and televisions and computer monitors. And in most cases, I think even the new iPhone has blue light features where you can turn something on and it lowers the level of blue light. But the blue light actually plays with hormones in your body, similar to what the deputy said before, and makes it also difficult to sleep. So that's another reason that you shouldn't be staring at it right before bedtime too. And with that, Deputy, it looks like there are no more questions. So I just want to thank you for being here with us tonight. And I know we will see you tomorrow night when we talk to the middle school and high school parents and students. So I really appreciate it. And I know our parents do. We did record this, so we will be sending it out to all of our parents as a link, hopefully by the end of this week. And we look forward to seeing you again. Thanks, Deputy.
Thank you very much. I can see there's one more question by
yes.
a parent. Can children use their mobile phones on a campus at most elementary schools? From my experience dealing with schools at an elementary school level, yes, kids can have their phones at an elementary school. There are some teachers, though, that will go ahead and have the kids turn them in, and that's not just Capistrano Unified, that's different districts. They'll turn them in so that they can have access to them, so it preoccupies them during the classroom activities. But yes, they definitely can have them, but in some cases they can be a burden to the child. depending on, what level they are as far as maturity and not being able to access the phone at the wrong times. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Deputy. I'll see you tomorrow night.
All right. Thank you very much, you guys.
Thank you, Deputy. Good night.
Good night.